What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Polestar. I've received quite a few requests to do a follow-up Polestar video, go over some of the data points and so forth. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So Polestar, at the time of doing this video, is sitting exactly on its new 52-week low of 74 cents and change. It is down 7.45%, 79 cents the high. We are seeing good volume today, 4.1 million shares being traded, but that's not necessarily the full accuracy of what is happening, only because most of that volume is linked to algorithmic trading. So the broader market is getting suppressed largely because of consumer linked fear, as well as just multiples. So because of Palantir's most recent earnings, now Wall Street's looking at multiples, and that's causing a little bit more of a broad push lower. In Polestar's case though, technically their PS ratio is pretty good. It does signal that they're at a pretty good value, but needless to say, institutions aren't really buying the dip. So right now, 0 transactions on the secondary market above $100,000, and same goes for the dark pool. So absolutely no institutions are really paying attention to Polestar. So it is rather unfortunate. My last video on Polestar was about 3 weeks ago, where I did kind of give some very big warnings that we were going to see a push lower. And lo and behold, over the last 1 month alone, it is down 23.3%. So exactly how I kind of mentioned it was going to play out. And one thing as well I did bring up was that we were going to be getting a deficiency notice from the NASDAQ, and that is exactly what did come on Halloween, just to spook investors. But ultimately, they do have 180 days to rectify that, whether that be natural on its own or through a reverse stock split. And it does say that they have up until April 29th, 2026 to rectify that. So if they do a reverse stock split, they'd need a shareholder approval, so they need a meeting, and then most likely it would be somewhere around April. Or possibly even maybe a month or two before that. But nonetheless, though, the market's going to be really looking at Polestar to see if they can pull a second miracle out of a hat. Because technically, Polestar was one of the very few companies, last time they were deficient with this ruling, was because they were able to kind of get out of it naturally without doing a reverse stock split. So market's going to be really looking at them just to see if they can do that twice. But regrettably, there hasn't been all that much in catalysts associated to Polestar. Even on social media, it looks like they have gone dormant. Like their last true post was April the 30th. Their last reply was October the 27th. So I think in general, like everything to do with Polestar is just gone radio silent. I don't know if that's actually on purpose or not, but still, nonetheless, not a good image. So this is exactly one thing I did bring up in my last Polestar video, was the fact that there wasn't really any catalyst to get it out of this downtrend it was on. So most likely it is going to continue to really go lower, right? Until it does hit that reflection point where it's like too difficult to ignore. I think last time around when Polestar was going down, like I think it was like 50 cents or 60 cents, that was that value play where people just couldn't ignore it. So that's one thing that really sparked it to really recover last time. But still, even if it does go down to 50 cents, anyone buying in now, you're still going to be at a pretty deep loss. So that's not necessarily the best. Plus you'll have this whole delisting kind of looming over Polestar, and maybe that actually might be best if Polestar just gets knocked down, goes to OTC, because I think Polestar, even though they are one of the only kind of pure EV plays aside from Tesla, like there's been absolutely no interest, and I think that's just because of 𝗖𝗎𝗓, in my opinion. But aside from that, for shorts, 9.5% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 36.7 million shares overall being shorted. Shorts aren't doing all too much, so they are increasing about 63,000 shares today. Cost to borrow average a little bit higher than the last couple of trading days, so 15.59. That's an annual rate, not a daily rate. DTC is 9.2 days, so that does signal that shorts are very overextended. One thing that I have brought up, I feel like it was a solid year ago, I mentioned that EVs in general, so Polestar, Rivian, Lucid, they're going to continue to bleed. And I think overall, similar to what happened in the cannabis field, we had a lot of consolidation. So I feel like that is still going to be on the table. So potentially Polestar could have a squeeze. Let's say if they announce a merger with, I think the likely candidate would be Lucid. So Polestar has the ability to really ramp up. They have the infrastructure. Lucid has the tech, and they don't really have good demand for their current lineup. But if you kind of merge the two, I feel like that would be a pretty big unstoppable force. So again, just throwing that out there, I do feel that could potentially prompt a squeeze, but still, I think more pain would have to occur in order for that to really happen. Looking at the options, I kind of don't even want to bring this up because there's about 5,200 in calls, 2,600 in puts. This is kind of extremely low. Most likely, I don't even know why market makers do this. It's probably they're losing so much money, but 81% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. So despite it hitting a new 52-week low, looks like people are still betting on more downside. And then, of course, I think the anticipated kind of price point, even from the bulls, is that it'll be at $1. So that's what kind of the bulls are hoping. Bears are hoping for it to be sub $1. So $1 is going to be a key pivot. Aside from that, with it at 74 and change, we just had a new 52-week kind of low even hit again, but 72 and change is going to be that strong support. If that does fail to hold, then it could see that 56 cents. And again, that's probably where maybe some value investors would really get into Polestar, anticipating that it'll go higher. So maybe 56 cents might be potentially a good buying opportunity and maybe a bottom. But for right now, quickly popping over here, you're not really seeing that much willing buyers. You can look at this market position, you see maybe one or two very large buys, but aside from that, that is it. So things could get very real, very, very fast, similar to what happened in September of 2024 when it just went down. You didn't really see that much willing buyers, and it just went. Obviously, we kind of know how that played out. Aside from that, there really isn't that much in articles talking about Polestar, so it's not really on anyone's radar. And analyst ratings, there's not really much going on. So let me know your thoughts on Polestar. Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? Do you think 56 cents would be a good buying opportunity? Or do you think that this stock is just going to go kind of BK, so bankruptcy route? Or maybe... I don't know. There's a lot of different ways how Polestar could play it out, but needless to say, I don't think it's really going to do that well in the foreseeable future. Because even way back in the day, I started covering Polestar when it was like, I think $11 back in, what was it, 2022, 2023 or something like that. And even then, like, institutions didn't really care so much about it. Management has made countless mistakes. And I think now what they did to kind of blind people is just switch it to semi-annual earnings. And so that's going to make things very, very difficult. So let me know your thoughts on Polestar. Are you buying or whatever else? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.